All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our public council meeting this evening, December the 14th, sorry. I believe this is our last meeting of 2021. And so welcome, everyone. And roll call, all members of council are present. And to the first, before we move on, I'd like to report out that we did have a closed meeting. An electronic closed meeting was held earlier this evening at 6 p.m. in accordance with section 239(2) B, C, D, E, F, H, I, and J, and K of the Municipal Act 2001. At the meeting, the members approve negotiated employment agreements with the Tecumseh Firefighter Association, receive advice regarding the appointment of legal counsel on employment matters, gave direction on action pay to two managers whilst servicing in an acting capacity for their respective directors, and given an update on a potential land acquisition. So to the members, any disclosure of pecuniary interest on the agenda is presented to you this evening. There are none. We'll have that duly reflected in the minutes. Speaking of minutes, we have the regular council meeting November 23rd, 2021, and the special council meeting of November 23rd, 2021. Could I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented to you this evening? Councillor Tonio, Councillor Jobin. On those minutes, any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Supplementary agenda adoption. We need a motion to approve items that the supplementary items added to the regular meeting agenda, being the Rural Broadband Advisory Committee minutes of September 22nd, 2021, and a proposed motion regarding the high-speed internet procurement process changes to be approved. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bichetti and Councillor Houston. All in favor? Opposed, if any of that is carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to delegations. In our first delegations this evening is our results of our local government week and our first place winners and also our second place winner of the essay contest. And I'm very, very happy to announce that the winners this evening for the first place essay contest winner is Owen Mikos. And the second place essay contest winner is Charlotte Van Stone. And so both of them presented some very good essays. And I certainly want to take this opportunity to thank Christina Hebert, who has been the stalwart that puts this program together on behalf of all of us. And so thank you. And tonight's the result of all of those kids that participated in the local government week. This is the results. So with that, I believe Christina Hebert, you will read the first place winners, Owen Mikos, his essay, or his winning essay to members of council and those who are viewing from home.
Thank you, Your Worship. Dear Mayor McNamara, Tecumseh is a great place to live in. There are lots of things to see and do, playing on sports teams, talking to the nice townspeople. There are lots of parks to play in. There's even a movie theater and bike and nature trails to explore. There are lots of amazing schools in Tecumseh too. It is a small town, less busy and really safe. I think for the 100th anniversary of Tecumseh, there should be a festival which has a parade, concert series, a bounce house, street decorations, and a 100 balloon release. The festival can be held at our many town parks so that anyone can go and participate. Another thing I think would be good for the 100th anniversary of Tecumseh is a mural painting of the history of Tecumseh. This mural should be painted somewhere that everyone can see it, like on a wall in a busy place. People should be able to see it while driving by or even walk there and check it out. It would take a lot of hard work, but it would look very nice, and it would be a great way to remember our town's 100th anniversary. These are just a few of my ideas to celebrate our great town. I hope you'd like reading my letter and hearing my ideas. Sincerely, Owen Mikos.
Well, thank you very much, Christina. Yeah, we give him a hand. I think Owen should be on our 100th anniversary committee. Some great ideas there, and I believe Owen is also here, so maybe we can get him to put his camera on. Hi.
Hello.
Well, that's a great essay, and I think it's getting you ready to be mayor for the day when things calm down a little bit. And so on behalf of all of us, Owen, we want to certainly congratulate you on your winning essay. And also, there is a package that will certainly get to you, and I believe we'll make sure that it gets to your school. And I believe it's St. Peter's.
Yeah.
And so we'll make sure that we bring that to you. And maybe if you can see in the camera, I'll show you. We got a beautiful certificate here to start with that you can frame and certainly proudly display that at home and on your winning efforts. And on the certificate, Owen, it says, Mayor and members of council present the certificate of congratulations to Owen Mikos, Mayor for the day for 2021. And there's a quote there, a caption that says, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And that is so true. And so signed by myself, the mayor, and presented to you on behalf of all of us at council and certainly our administration. So once again, Owen, congratulations and thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and our next, the second place winner is Charlotte Van Stone. And Charlotte, I believe she's on also. And Charlotte, you're going to read your essay. So once again, congratulations, Charlotte, as the deputy mayor for the day of 2021. And on behalf of all of us here at council, we want to thank you for a wonderful essay. And so now we'll give you the opportunity to recite your essay.
Thank you. Dear Mayor Nakamura, for our 100th year anniversary of Tecumseh, I think we should look back at where we came from. Chief Tecumseh, the leader of the Shawnee tribe. We can have a big campfire and get some locals to tell old stories and myths about Tecumseh that people used to tell. We could also play in some games I found. All these games were played by the Shawnee tribe. One game is called Jump the Stick. This is how you play. You line up 10 pieces of 4-foot-long sticks, then you take a beanbag and throw it in between the sticks. Next, you try and jump to the beanbag you threw. Last one standing wins. This event will last 2 days. Day 1 will have games, campfire, food, little souvenir shops. Day 2 will be a little bit bigger. We'll do all the same things, but end the night off with fireworks. Day 1 will include 4 games. Jump the stick, 1-foot high kick, lacrosse, and monkey dance. All the rules will be down below. A big campfire cooked foods, stars around the fire, and don't forget little souvenir shops. Day 2 will include 4 games, jump the stick, 1-foot high kick, lacrosse, monkey dance. All the rules will be down below. A big campfire cooked foods, stories around the fire, little souvenir shops, and since it's the last day, fireworks. This event will take place at McAuliffe Park on St. Alphonse Avenue. It will be nice to have a big open field for my idea. Budget. I think our budget should be $4,500. If money is left over, which it probably will, we will donate money to charity. Not all, but some. Time. We want fireworks to be bright and fire needs to be big. So timing-wise, I think it should start at 4 o'clock and stay as late as you want, but fireworks are at 9. Thank you for listening to my essay.
Well, thank you very much. Wonderful. Right. Maybe I'll ask the deputy mayor, but I believe you're also from St. Peter's School.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, dynamite. St. Peter's has been certainly the students there have really excelled over the years. There've been a lot of mayors and deputy mayors that for a day that have come from certainly from St. Peter's School. And so I'll let the deputy mayor give you a personal congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor McNamara. It's obviously a privilege, honored, not only as a deputy mayor, but yes, I am the principal of St. Peter's School. And I tell you, I told Miss Christina Hebert, while I'm principal at whether it be at St. Pius or St. Peter's, I have not participated in any of the voting. So that's left to the mayor, members of council. I'm very proud at the end when I hear the results that, the student at the school that you're at as principal is a winner, but not only one, but two. And so not only do we want to thank, the town for offering this local government program, but also to Mr. Garnell, the teacher, for you and Owen in the rest of the grade 5-6 classroom where you are participating. And one thing that, I always try to advocate is that getting involved in local government is important. And at your age, you guys are doing a great job. And I know you're going to be involved with the 100th anniversary celebration when we do that this summer. Like Mayor McNamara mentioned, you guys should be part of the youth advisory on that committee, just based on your ideas that, are great to be able to see come to fruition. So again, thank you, your families, and Owen, and wish you guys a great Merry Christmas break, and very proud of you again as a principal, but also deputy mayor here in Tecumseh.
Thank you.
Okay, so on your certificate, it says the mayor and members of council present the certificate of congratulations to Charlotte Van Stone, deputy mayor for day 2021. And the caption here says, if a man empties his purse into his head, the man can take it away from him. An investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. So school is very important. So with that, again, we'll make sure that your certificates and your gifts will be brought to your school. And we're certainly looking forward to our big celebration next year, which both of you will play a huge part in helping us celebrate that weekend in July. So with that, once again, on behalf of all of council, administration, thank you for your participation. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge all of the schools that participated and all the students for participating, and looking forward to local government week again next year. And for those who haven't participated, maybe it's an opportunity to have a conversation with your teachers and tell them, to get involved. And it's a great opportunity to see how local government really works. So with that, I thank you, and I bid you good evening. All right, we'll move on to our second delegation, and it gives me pleasure to introduce you, Diana Radulescu, Active Transportation Coordinator at the County of Essex, and Jerry Beale, the Manager of Transportation Planning and Development, also from County of Essex. So welcome to both of you to our meeting this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council for the opportunity to present today. It will be tough to follow the first delegation, but we'll give it our best shot. Sean, may I please have the screen? Excellent. Thank you for the introduction. Joining us is also Brian Hillman, who's the Director of Development Services at the town of Tecumseh and the town CWATS committee member. Next slide. CWATS is a countywide active transportation system that connects all 7 municipalities within Essex County. It's the main method by which the county and the municipalities champion safe, active transportation, create connections between communities, encourage healthy living, and contribute to economic development and tourism. Next slide. CWATS was officially adopted in 2012 when the master plan was released. The plan is based on 3 pillars: policies, network, and programs. First, the plan incorporates language from county planning policies and provides specific design guidance for implementing the proposed 800-kilometer network. It also provides guidance for relevant town policies whenever they're updated. Secondly, we work with local municipalities to build and enhance active transportation facilities, and I'll speak to this later in the presentation about how exactly it's done. Since 2015, we've conducted annual active transportation traffic counts to measure our network usage, and we've seen that the number of cyclists has doubled since then, and more women and children are on our network than ever before using various types of active transportation. And this shows us that we're building more facilities that attract different kinds of users, and that active transportation is on the rise in the county. Lastly, we also create and manage programs alongside our community partners. So you might have seen us partner with Bike Windsor Essex to offer bike education classes for all ages and promote cycling safety. Since we started our active transportation counts in 2015, we've also seen an increase in helmet usage, which shows us that our education programs are reaching our target audiences as well. So together, these pillars make CWATS a network that we've seen is well used and has attracted more cycling tourism to the region. Next slide. In 2012, the county, the municipalities, and the health unit signed a CWATS charter and took the Couch Potato Pledge. And this is an ongoing commitment to furthering safe and accessible active transportation facilities within the county. Next slide. Our network is made up of many different facility types that can support a wide range of users. Depending on the road context, we have different kinds of separation. This ranges from signed routes to multi-use paths on roads. The Greenway multi-use trails are probably our most well-known facility type. They're owned and managed by IRCA, but they exist on our CWATS network, and they provide connections to various destination points. I will also note that sidewalks are not included on the CWATS network as per the 2012 plan. They are the responsibility of towns to plan for and deliver for them where they're needed. Next slide. So how do we build? We have 3 mechanisms to do so. First, we have our CWATS Core Infrastructure Program. CWATS is essentially a municipality-led process. So the towns will typically submit applications every year to build parts of the network based on their budget and priorities. The facility types in the master plan exist to provide guidance to the towns on the type of design and engineering best practices based on the road itself. We have a cost sharing formula that's in front of you today, and that's applied based on the road context. It was developed in 2012, and we're not proposing a change to this formula as part of our recent master plan update. After we receive applications at the county, they're reviewed and voted on by the CWATS committee. We usually expect the design work or the construction to follow the next year, and we do encourage applications that complete segments that create a continuous facility where possible. So County Council has approved our 2022 budget, and it is for 1.5 million. Next slide. We also have a municipal partnership program where we support towns in adding more active transportation facilities that are not linear infrastructure. So past projects include wayfinding signs, benches, bike repair stations, bike lockers, and education programming. So this is a 50-50 split between the county and the towns, and the county's budget for this is $100,000 per year. And we also have a paved shoulder program where we align the county's 5-year road rehabilitation program with paved shoulders identified in the CWATS master plan. So when we tender the procurement, that occurs for both the road and the paved shoulders at the same time. This allows us to have cost and schedule efficiencies in expanding the CWATS network. And again, our budget for next year has just been approved, and that is 2.8 million. Since 2012, if we go back one slide. Since 2012, we've built over 55% of the network due to these programs. And, you know, as they say, it does take a village, and the success of CWATS over the past 10 years shows us what collaboration between various municipalities can really achieve. Next slide. We have a CWATS committee that's chaired by the county, and it's comprised of the 7 municipalities, as well as the health unit, MTO, IRCA, Windsor, and Chatham-Kent. Next slide. We've also built partnerships with various organizations that support active transportation, cycling tourism, active school travel, and just generally being outdoors. And these are a few of our key partners. Next slide. At the moment, we're updating our master plan to incorporate new provincial design guidelines and best practices that have come out since 2012. We're applying new trends in active transportation. We're adding a focus on equity, and we're also identifying new partnerships. We began this work in 2018, and we're progressing through the chapters, as you can see in front of you. At the moment, we're looking to finalize our proposed network, which we're sharing for your comments and feedback today. Next slide. Our master plan includes upgraded facility types that adhere to new provincial guidelines and engineering best practices which sometimes require greater separation. So we've also added routes based on feedback we've gotten from the public over the last couple of years since the start of the master plan update, and CWATS committee members as well. With CWATS receiving general public support over the last 10 years, we've seen an increased desire from users to enhance facility types and expand the network. Next slide. The proposed changes of new routes and revised facility types amount to over 72 kilometers in Tecumseh alone. Next slide. Due to updated design guidelines, which call for enhanced facility types, we made changes to previously proposed routes in the 2012 master plan that have not yet been built. There's no time in the presentation to go through each one, but we are looking for the town's feedback on these proposed changes. Next slide. We've also proposed new routes that are new since the 2012 master plan. Again, we are looking for the town's feedback on these comments. Next slide. The updated master plan will also provide guidelines to prioritizing projects. This will serve as a guide for Tecumseh and the county when determining our budgets and annual construction priorities. Next slide. We prioritize projects according to how they aligned with the county's road rehab program, any planned capital works, any feasibility design studies that were completed or in the works, and key tourism routes as well. I will note this phasing is very preliminary since the network has not reached the final draft stage and we're still receiving input from municipalities. We do welcome your feedback on this proposed phasing as well. Next slide. In 2012, we estimated the cost of the proposed network based on information available at the time. In the past 10 years, these costs have risen due to actual construction costs, additional design studies, and other factors. And this slide shows the scale of the 2012 network, most of which has been built to date. Next slide. As part of this master plan update, we've developed very preliminary cost estimate based on the proposed phasing and the facility types we have at the moment. These costs include a 20% contingency and 15% design costs. The unit costs are based on actual county construction experience and don't include land acquisition or utility relocation. Sometimes detailed design is required, which does add additional costs. And I will note that this is over a 20-year time frame, and it provides a guideline for budgeting. Ultimately, CWATS is a town-led process, and there is flexibility in application based on your annual priorities and the collaboration between the county and the town, which has been going strong for the past 10 years. And these numbers serve as a rough estimate, but will likely change as changes to the network itself arise due to municipality comments. Next slide. So we've provided an overview of the CWATS program as it is today and on our draft network and phasing. We value and look forward to the town's feedback on these changes within 30 days. We've provided additional slides in the appendix for your review as well. Once we receive your comments, we'll finalize the network, which will help us move forward into the phasing and implementation chapters of the master plan. And our plan is to return to Tecumseh Council with a full draft of the master plan for your approval in the new year. Next slide. Thank you, Your Worship and members of Council, for your time today. We are available to answer your questions.
All right, thank you very much, Diana, for your presentation. And I'll open it up to the floor now for questions. I got Councillor Dowie, Deputy Mayor Bichetti.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to, I guess, Diana and Jerry. Thank you very much for the presentation. I think this is one of probably the most extensive CWAT analysis that we've seen, or that I've seen on my time on council. So thank you for that. I really appreciate seeing, just the plan laid out this way. And I guess I'd wanted to, I'd say we hear from our residents all the time. They want to see active transportation opportunities, and certainly CWATS is among them. And I guess the table that you put with respect to the implementation and cost was very revealing. And I just hoping maybe for some clarity, Tecumseh appears to be has the least amount of support out of all municipalities from the County of Essex. And I think that's because we have the fewest amount of county roads, and maybe I suspect that's the reason. But I'm wondering, number one, is that the reason? And second, is that destined to change, or are we just always going to have a relatively lower share of the total CWATS investment versus our peers?
Through your worship to Councillor Dowie, thank you for that question. I will call upon Brian Hillman to see if he's able to answer this question.
Yes, thank you, Diana. Through you, Mr. Mayor, and yes, very good question from Councillor Dowie. You're right. It is a function of the county road system and where it is located in each municipality. Tecumseh has a number of facilities that have been identified that are on local roads that do not have a county contribution associated with them. And that funding model came out of the 2012 CWATS document and has been followed since that time. And so it would appear that the contribution from the county is less relative to other municipalities, but it really flows from that model. And it goes to the issue of the county road study that was undertaken and has just paused slightly there recently on road rationalization. And that was part of the support for that study to start to rationalize the funding of these types of projects because they are tied to the county road system. But the short answer is you are correct. That is how the funding model is designed.
Thank you for that. And just a supplementary, and Brian, maybe you'd be the best respondent to this one. So, we've had spent a lot of time around the table speaking about the Riverside Drive trail. And so it does appear to be part of CWATS, even though it does touch upon what could be a connecting link to Manning Road, because that's County Road 19. At least it's signed as such, even if it's owned by the municipality. And it does go into the Windsor, connects to a Windsor system. So I guess, is there an appetite to by the county or through the plan, because it does fill a gap between the county facility in the east and the city of Windsor, and it touches on or intersects with really what's a county road. Is it destined to be brought into the system, or will it always be a standalone?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, good question, Councillor Dowie. It in fact is in the CWATS plan. So it's identified as a CWATS segment. And I noticed and we have been involved with the county and the consultants, which is the same team that worked on the original CWATS plan, who are doing the update right now, and it continues to be identified. So if we were to go to slide, the one that shows the 72.2 kilometer CWATS segments, if Sean's has the PowerPoint, you'll see that Riverside Drive is shown as a two-way multi-use pathway, and that's intended to signify, and it's shown as proposed. And although it's a CWATS segment, because it's not on a county road, it's 100% municipally funded, but it is viewed as part of an integral part of the CWATS system in terms of connectivity for the reasons you provided.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just on that point, before I move to the next, to the deputy mayor, just so I don't lose my thought, but as the Riverside Drive connects to the Manning Road, once after that's fully reconstructed, is there any involvement from the county on that particular piece?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take the first stab at that. We actually, if I've got you correctly, it's the Manning Road segment that will be reconstructed from Riverside Drive South. Yeah, so we have been putting in allocations to the CWATS committee and county council for the detailed design of the, I think in that case, it's a trail on that segment. And then ultimately when that is constructed, and if I remember correctly, it is in the 5-year capital works plan for the enclosure of the drain. And I think the last phase is the platform for the road and the separated trail system. There will be 40% funding on the active transportation from the county for that segment. That application will come forward once the project's ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Diana, and your team for the detailed report. I know I've been concerned with CWATS for many years, especially from the onset, like going back to 2012, where our municipality wasn't getting the bang for the buck for the money that was put in. And you can see the millions of dollars that this program is budgeting, not only, today, but for the future. And back then, it showed a little graph where 2012, we were not going to get much of the projects coming to our town, but in year 7 or 8 or 9, we were going to be receiving some funding and some projects. And I remember, Brian, who's on the committee member at the time too, is, be patient. And what's frustrating, and Diana, it's not nothing against you or your team, it's just the reality that we're in, is that now we're going through a master plan. We're going through a road rationalization study that I know the mayor of LaSalle and the previous mayor of LaSalle has been asking, for the past 5 years to get done so that we can move forward. Still not done. And it's making a gap. And Councillor Dower mentioned Riverside Trail. How can Lakeshore's portion of CWATS on Old Tecumseh Road be considered CWATS? As it connects to Brighton and it connects to Riverside into the city of Windsor. That is a natural, and if you look at the map, a natural CWATS. The semantics, the terms of reference, I think when it comes to a master plan needs to change, but it can't change until that road rationalization changes. And so as a municipality, yes, that's in town, we recognize it, but you're 100%. No, connecting Lakeshore to Tecumseh to Windsor, to me, is a natural link. It's CWATS, it's doing what your intent is to connect these trails, irregardless. So again, my advocacy is going to be to change these terms of reference that are on there that are saying, no, Riverside Trail is not part of it. Well, you can't have, CWATS money going towards Old Tecumseh Road just because the road rationalization study wasn't done. So it's a political thing. It's a difficult, complex issue. And I know, Mr. Hillman, you're sat on that committee many years. You've got a lot of the background. I think that's where we need to go is stop looking after, using these rules for or against. Let's look at it as a region and where these connecting links are, and use these millions of dollars that was shown tonight to help the lower tier municipalities make these projects a go. And so that, we're going ahead with Riverside Trail. It'd be great if we got a 20% funding for that from CWATS. And if Lakeshore or LaSalle or Kingsville has the same opportunity, I'm all supportive at the county level to support those lower tiers to be able to tap into that funding. So I think that's a challenge. And again, I don't sit on the as a committee member, but if that can be looked at, is shake the box up and see if we can do what's best for the region. So those are my comments, but I want to thank Diana for the detailed report and continued work with your team moving this forward. So thank you.
I don't know if you want any, Diana or Jerry, if you guys want to tackle that one, but
I'm not sure we're able to tackle that one at this level. I think that we've got these components happening, which is the road rationalization. We've got a master transportation plan, which we're going to be starting next year, which is tied in with that. And we had intended to keep the status quo with the funding mechanism that we have at this moment. shaking the box up, maybe it does need shaking up, but I think I'd wait for the road rationalization before doing that. But I value your comments, and I will bring it up with senior management at the county.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I think that's all we're asking, Jerry, and so forth. But I know with the realignment of 43 and 42, there'll be a lot of trail work being done there, that'll be
Yes.
part of certainly that process. And so we're looking forward to moving on that project. And I know both of you, Diana and Jerry, are relatively newcomers compared to myself. I've been here since I'm representing Tecumseh at the county for 21 or 22, 23 years. And that's been, a bit of an issue, the realignment, but that goes back to amalgamation, but I won't hit you with that because number one, it has nothing to do with the CWATs at this stage, but just to make sure that CWAT is part of that as we lay that out. So we're certainly looking forward to working with you closely with that. Any further questions or comments? No. I think we're good. But certainly if, between now until, as you continue to develop the plan or the master plan and the information, if there's anything, we'll certainly extend that through Mr. Hillman to bring to certainly your attention some of the, if there's are any other issues that certainly come forward, and also any other suggestions that we think could add value to the process moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We would welcome that. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
No further questions or comments. Thank you both for taking time to appear to our public meeting this evening. And the best of the season to both of you. All right, members of council, we'll move on to the third and final delegation this evening. We have Mr. Paul Bustani, the treasurer of our BIA, who's here also with Linda Proctor, the vice chair, and Denise Palacia, who's a coordinator with the BIA, the Tecumseh Business Improvement. So welcome to all of you to our meeting this evening.
Thank you. Denise, you want to take the lead on this?
Sure.
Linda?
Yes.
Sure.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, so as far as the, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Marg, we welcome the opportunity to sit in front of you tonight, although I'd rather be around the table. So as far as to take a look at the budget for 2022, you have it in front of you. Maybe we'll start with any questions or concerns that you see relevant in front of you that we can answer at this time. Now you'll notice that as far as our format this year is to present the budget a little bit earlier, where normally, which we've done in 18, 19, 20, it's always been into the new year, but we're just trying to stay a little bit more proactive. We've had some curves thrown at us, especially with the COVID situation. And so right now we do not have our final levy, which is due at the end of the month. So we're working with the 3/4 installment, and you'll see in front of you. So questions or comments as far as the numbers that are in front of you?
Okay. Members of council, any questions or comments to to our delegation. Councillor Dowie.
Thank you, Worship. And thank you to Denise, Paul, and Linda for being here today and presenting the budget. It's certainly a pleasure to welcome you and to have you here. And thank you for all that you do for the community. I think the most notable thing that it always puts a smile on my face when I see the decorations for the holidays that the BIA sponsors, and for the different beautification efforts that you make or that businesses provide for the community. And certainly, I know you have lots on the go for the next year. You have lots of great ideas. Certainly, I'd love to hear about some of them if you wish to share, but I know under the beautification, there's quite a substantial investment that's being proposed for the coming years. Yeah, just curious to see if there's anything that you can share with us about your plans under that line item.
Denise?
So for our beautification project for next year, it was supposed to be this year, but due to unforeseen circumstances, it's going to be next year, which is good because it aligns with Tecumseh's 100th. So we're planning on doing 2 murals next year down Tecumseh Road. So we will be having a Tecumseh Proud logo, a mural, sorry. And that's going to be a community piece. And then we also have an interactive mural that we're doing as well that people can go and take pictures with. So it's going to become more of like a touristy type attraction, hopefully become like an iconic piece for Tecumseh. It'll drive in, like I said, tourism, and it'll also be part of the CIP plan. So we're super excited for that. There's a few other projects too that are in the works, but they're not really set in stone yet. So I won't say anything about those. But the 2 murals are our big project next year that we're really excited about.
Supplementary.
There we go. Any further? It appears to me, to the delegation, it's pretty much a status quo budget. A little bump up, obviously, in your beautification piece, and just to echo Councillor Dowie, I think that's it'll add obviously to the core and in that development, and so again too, for all of us, thank you, and for what you're doing in our community, and there's no doubt hopefully 2022 we're going into 22, and it's still the ravages of COVID still there hitting a lot of our business community, and hopefully we'll finally start seeing some movement towards post pandemic and get everybody back on track, especially in our hospitality industry and certainly the retail industry as well. So I think it's important that we give you as much support as we can and to our community, but certainly it's been difficult, certainly for all of us, including the municipality, where we're dependent on a lot of recreational services that have been impeded as well. So with that, I again thank you for what you're doing, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed from us, the hard work that goes into it.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Then I'm going to look to administration to see. Oh, go ahead, Councillor. But Deanna, if we're looking for a motion to receive the presentation.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to Paul, Denise, and Linda. It's great to see you, and thank you very much. I would echo what the mayor indicated about pretty well generally a status quo budget. I was also going to try to pick your brains about some initiatives you had, so I really appreciate that. And it's very good to see that, your initiative seems to align very well with the, the voices that we heard from our younger residents earlier today about murals and so forth. So, that's really good to see. So want to thank you all for your hard work, and please take care, and much appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
we just want to thank you for, we now have a complete full board. So we'll be getting off to the first of the year in a running start. We've got a lot of plans, and I know our 3 new members have got a lot of ideas. And we want to get a little bit more done with the CIP planning on our part, and continue to invest in our businesses in our town. Our Tecumseh Dollar program, of course, is on fire and doing well, and our businesses are reaping the rewards of that. So we're very pleased. Being such a tough year, it was difficult, but thanks. Denise has just been on board a little over a year now, and she's running 24/7. So we're very pleased with the work that she's put into this as well. So, and of course, the support from Councillor Dowie and Councillor Houston on our committee has greatly helped us as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you for those comments, Linda. And there's no doubt, I think it's an opportunity for us. We all have a responsibility to really push shop local. Shop local is important. It's every dollar spent in our own community is a dollar, that is redistributed, through our local economy. So it's very important for all of us, and to share that message. And for those who are viewing from home, I think you could, if you're looking for great gifts, you don't have to go far. It's right here. And if you feel that you got to do it online, guess what? You can do it online. So if you don't want to go in there in person, you can do it online. So take advantage of it. We got some wonderful businesses in the community, and to help our hospitality industry as well, gift certificates and so forth. And to your point on the Tecumseh dollars, I've heard nothing but good things about that. And so again, doing everything that we can to support our good folks that are providing jobs in our community, which is very important.
Thank you.
On a personal note too, I just want to thank all of you as well. It's been my first year officially, and it's been an interesting year to jump into this role, but thank you all very, very much, especially Councillor Dowie and Councillor Houston. They've been a huge help with guiding me along. So, and of course, Paul and Linda. But I just want to thank you to everyone at the town of Tecumseh, Laura Moy as well. All of you have really helped. So thank you.
Well, that's great. And thank you. And what a baptism of fire coming in the middle of the pandemic, so I'm glad you're sticking it out and doing good work. So we certainly appreciate all that.
Thank you.
So if there's no further questions or comments, so I'm going to look at Ms. Moy. Are we looking for a motion to receive the budget as presented?
We have a motion to approve the budget as presented, Your Worship.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bichetti, supported by Councillor Jobin. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried unanimous. Thank you very much to the three of you. If we don't see you out there, we want to wish you all the best at Christmas, and continue to do what you do best, and but most importantly, do it safely and good health in 22.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, members of council, we'll move on to communications. We do have 12 pieces of communications. Can I have a motion to receive? Councillor Tonio, Councillor Dowie, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Any communication pieces that you would like to pull? I do have one that I think we should pay attention, members of council, on item number 9, the town of Penetanguishene. That was dated December 7th concerning rates of, I'm not gonna have problems with this word, recidivism. And what that is basically support the resolution. It's basically our OPP are doing a lot of good work, putting people, arresting people, and the courts are really putting them out on the street. And as we know, we've got some issues. Councillor Tonio, you've been working very hard, and especially in your ward in particular. And I think this is something that I think we need to have the courts, provincial courts, really look at, especially on the repeat offenders. We're seeing it. We've had a rash of B&Es into the community, and it seems to be a lot of repeat culprits that are basically are being released from the courts early, and they're out doing their thing in the community. So I think this is a resolution and a letter from Penetanguishene that we should support. Moved by Councillor Dowie, supported Councillor Tonio. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Committee minutes, members of council, the town of Tecumseh business improvement area. That's a motion to receive their minutes. Councillor Houston, Deputy Mayor Bichetti, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Police Services Board, November 30th, a motion that the minutes of the Police Services Board of November 30th board as were duplicating delivered to the members be accepted. Councillor Tonio, Councillor Dowie, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any of that is carried. Next is the minutes of the Rural Broadband Advisory Committee of September 22nd. If I could have a motion to accept the advisory committee minutes as duplicated and delivered to the members. Councillor Houston moves, support Councillor Jobin. Any questions or comments? None, all in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Move on to M reports. The first one, 1A, is the report from our Chief Administrative Officer, final requirements of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. We'll call upon our Chief Administrative Officer to summarize the report and bring forward the recommendation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report is fairly self-explanatory. You've seen the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan in its development over the past couple of years. And the Leo Gill from the city presented the findings recently at council. Council then gave its authorization to sort of up-delegate its approval authority to the County of Essex. That was done on our behalf in November, and we're now at the stage of the final report being printed and posted as required by the Police Services Act on our website, and I will still continue on the roundtable for implementation. We don't have any budgeted items for 2022 for implementation, but I think that's kind of the sorting year to sort out how we're going to move forward and what that might look like, mostly at the regional level, but there will be also some opportunities for implementation at the local level that will be deciphered as well from the plan. So wanted to draw your attention to that very worthwhile document. It will be posted, shared publicly. My hat is off to Christina Ebert, who helped me vastly on in support of this project, and will continue to assist at the data table as we move forward. So it's really just for your information and to indicate that the project is now complete and published. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so just got the report, members of council. Well, first of all, any questions or comments? Councillor Altenhoff.
Thank you, Worship. And through you, to the CAO, I know there's the indication of the document being printed and posted, publicly posted. So I'm assuming posted, you're referring to electronically, so it'll be available through electronic means. When you say printed, where would the location of that hard copy of that document exist?
Through the mayor to council, yes, electronically posted, so posted to the town's website. We'll produce a few copies that we would have on hand if at town hall if needed. I don't expect that there will be a lot of demand for printed copy, and it is a fairly sizable document, so we will keep our costs down and try to promote its reference online.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any further questions? If not, then a motion to receive the report is presented by our administrator, Councillor Altenhoff and Councillor Houston. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Our next report is from our legislative services and our clerk, Ms. Moy, and it's the 2021-35 Urban Hens Licensing Pilot Program year end. So I'll call upon our director to summarize the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this report is on our 2-year urban hen pilot licensing program that was approved by council back in January of 2020 at their policies and priorities meeting. The program was subsequently approved by bylaw, including terms and conditions. That bylaw and terms and conditions were also amended in May of 2021 of this past year. Those amendments essentially were to provide for additional enforcement mechanisms of the terms and conditions. So the program allowed for a minimum, certain property sizes to have a minimum of 6 hens up to a maximum of 12 hens, depending on the property size. The applicants for the pilot program had to fill out an application, agree to the terms and conditions. There were site inspections held at the property to assess the as-built design of the hens and hen coops, and subject to compliance with the terms and conditions, licenses and bans were issued for the hens. So an intern update was provided on this program back in May of this year. And as I mentioned, there was an amending bylaw that was presented to council to strengthen enforcement and the recovery of costs related to the removal of hens or hen coops for non-compliance. So the purpose of this report is to provide a final report and recommendation on the 2-year program. Since the launch of the program in March of 2020, 13 permits have been issued to the owners for keeping an overall of 76 urban hens. 2 property owners who obtained permits have elected to withdraw from the program. And administration has received complaints with respect to the proper keeping of the hens, their feed and coop, and attractions for rodents for at least 3 of the permitted properties, including a total of 17 registered hens. These property owners were contacted by administration by phone, written correspondence, reminding them of the terms and conditions of the pilot program, and inspections were carried out by the bylaw enforcement officer to follow up on compliance. Failure to comply with the provisions of the program resulted in these permits being revoked in accordance with the terms and conditions. 2 of those property owners cooperated and rehomed the hens and removed the coop. The town had to provide assistance to the 3rd property to do so. So at this writing, there's 8 permits currently active for the keeping of a total of 52 hens. Concerns that have been recorded in City Works are included in this report, and I won't get into those details. But the administration is recommending that the program be discontinued at this writing. That is based on an evaluation of the program over the course of the period, including monitoring and tracking concerns and or complaints regarding the keeping of the urban hens. Significant staff resources have been required to oversee the program, including administration of the applications, inspection of the hen coops and runs, compliance and enforcement with the pilot program terms and conditions, and responding to inquiries and complaints relating to these, the keeping of the hens. So as I mentioned, we are recommending that the pilot program be discontinued, and we're recommending it be discontinued effective March 1st, 2022, which would be the end of the 2-year term, and that the current licenses terminate at that time, with notice being given to remove the hen coops and runs and to rehome the hens to a suitable location on or before that date for all compliant owners. For any license that have been already revoked or there may be orders issued for early removal would remain in effect. So the cost for the application process was essentially $25, nominal fee to recover a portion of the administrative costs and the licensing fees. We had an estimated cost incurred of $475 to assist the one property owner for the removal of the hen coop and run, which we are anticipating will be recovered from that property owner. So this report is presented to council for council's consideration, and I'd be happy to address any questions from the members and the recommendation with regards to the recommendations.
All right, thank you, Ms. Moy. Councilor Dowie, move the recommendation.
Yes.
Support. Councilor Tonio. Any questions or comments? Councilor Dowie, Councilor Houston, Councilor Tonio.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to the clerk and to all the municipal staff who and Christina and CAO and bylaw enforcement, Daryl, everyone who contributed to this program and the very sincere effort to make something work with respect to this. I know we had delegations in the past who had asked for the ability to undertake this in their yards, and we had certainly that appeal came to us at council that this be formalized and allowed. And I think we were, I think we gave it a really good shot to make that effort. However, certainly I support this motion on a couple of major reasons. The number one being that if the main one being that there are unintended consequences that happen. People, if they don't strictly follow the rules, they could cause tremendous harm to their neighbors and their neighbors' enjoyment, and with permanent lasting effects or semi-permanent anyway, with especially if food's readily available, if the hens are leaving their coops regularly, and creating an environment that's undesirable. So with this, it just we tried it. We made a valiant effort. There were a lot of problems that exceeded our ability to enforce it in a way that was satisfactory to the residents as a whole. And so to applaud the effort, we gave it a shot, and it didn't work out for us. And I think it's worth trying. And but the results are not what we were hoping for. And we'll conclude the pilot project with this notice.
Thank you, Councilor Houston.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship. I think Councilor Dowie, hit the nail on the head. I was certainly in support of trialing and the pilot out of the get-go, and it's unfortunate that we had some instances and some permits revoked because the work wasn't done. People weren't taking care of them, and the consequence and the results of not taking care of them, I think, outweigh a lot of the benefits that we initially wanted to try. So it's certainly unfortunate, but feel better knowing that we tried it, didn't work. I am good with the decision. Support the recommendation, and I think this is the best outcome for everyone that the program be discontinued. So thank you.
Councilor Tonio.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Houston and Councilor Dowie basically said everything I was going to say. Just I wanted to add on, we're also getting some reports of coyotes and foxes in the area, which could also, they'll find these chickens eventually, I'm sure of it. So would just create another problem. The chickens having fresh eggs, yeah, that's important, but it doesn't outweigh the property standard issues, all the rat issues that generate for it. So I'm able to support this recommendation not to continue on with the hen project, just to the fact of the repercussions that it causes to the outlying neighbors if everybody doesn't follow every little rule. So, we have a beautiful Sandwich South farming community that can produce some eggs for us. If we want fresh eggs, I'm sure we can find some in our own town. Just drive a few miles into Sandwich South. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Tonio. Any further questions or comments? If not, it's been duly moved, supported. All in favor of the recommendation? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. All right, we'll move on. I believe we still have Ms. Moy, a report from the clerk's department, 2021-36, Community Support Center Services Agreement Renewal. That's a 2-year term renewal, 2022 and 2023. So call upon again the director, summarize the report and bring forward the recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is somewhat of a biannual report, if you will, for at least the last 10 years. The Community Support Center of Essex County has been providing transportation services to persons with a disability and seniors living in Tecumseh with transit system or transit support. And the town first entered into an agreement with CSC in 2011 to formalize and recognize and set out the terms of their transportation services offered to our residents. The town has been providing a subsidy to the CSC to the total sum for the last 2 years of $15,000. The CSC provides affordable door-to-door transportation services that allow seniors and persons with disabilities to independently access medical facilities, hospitals, clinics, and other appointments throughout the Windsor and Essex County area. And in the report, I provided you with a table of the ridership since 2016. While the COVID pandemic affected the ridership in 2020 and 2021, CSC does report that while the drop in transportation did see an increase in services experienced for their Meals on Wheels program and foot care services. But before 2020, as indicated in the numbers in this report, the number of trips was increasing consistently, demonstrating the need for accessible transportation at an affordable cost. So we're recommending that the funding agreement be renewed for a further 2-year term with the CSC to the maximum amount of $15,000 for each year of the agreement. And I'm open to any questions if council has any.
Councilor Altenhoff, move report.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I'm happy to move the report and the recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, support, Councilor Houston. Questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Riquetti.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question, Ms. Moy, regarding the renewal. Is it a standard 2-year? I'm thinking it is a valued program, especially the seniors. It's heavily used in our town. That's kind of the remnants of our old Tecumseh Senior Transit operation. My question is, why not 4 or why not 5 years? It is a service that, in terms of the aging society and also the needs in our community, that this is going to be there for a while. Is there a reason why it's only 2 and not longer?
The reason for the 2-year renewal is at the request of the CSE. I think they want to review what the ridership and the support contributions may be in the future.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions or comments? Hearing none. Go ahead, Councilor Houston.
Thank you, Your Worship. And to the clerk, I'm just wondering, looking at the numbers here, and again, I know COVID really impacted it. If it's $3 that we're committed to covering on any of the trips, we haven't hit the allocated budget of $15,000. and serving right around 400, at the peak, 400 clients at the peak. Is there anything we can do or we should be doing to maybe market or make this program, expose the program a little more? I'm just wondering, I think it's a great program. I just, do we need to let more people know about it, that this service is here? And I don't know. I don't know if there's an opportunity for us to better bring some exposure.
So we do have information with regards to the program on the town's website, and we do have the posts in the social media that the CFC posts regularly, which I believe the town does support and share when it becomes available. But
Okay.
certainly we can explore any further opportunities to promote.
Yeah, I just think it's a fantastic, program, right? And see that the numbers there, and if there's a need, certainly we want to make sure that everybody knows about it. So.
Okay. No further questions or comments on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, we are also the clerk's 2021-37 report on the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement Statement. So I'll call upon the director, summarize the report and bring forward the recommendation.
So thank you again, Your Worship. So this report is brought forward at the request from Council back in March of this year to provide a report on how we might recognize Indigenous heritage lands within the town. So a land acknowledgement is an act of reconciliation. It recognizes that long before other peoples arrived in Canada, Indigenous peoples were inhabitants and stewards of the land, and that they continue to play a vital role in its future. The recognition commemorates the close relationship Indigenous peoples have with the land. It's also an important step to increasing awareness of Canada's Indigenous history and addressing the damage caused by attempts to eradicate or diminish Indigenous culture. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission, back in 2009, to hear the stories of survivors and address the legacy of residential schools, issued 94 calls to action in 2015. And recommendation number 57 states that they're calling upon all levels of government to provide education to public servants on the history of Aboriginal peoples, including the history and legacy of residential schools, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, treaties and Aboriginal rights, Indigenous laws, and Aboriginal Crown relations. So this education begins with recognition. Increasingly, governments, schools, non-government organizations, and even businesses are adopting land acknowledgement statement as an early step in the process of reconciliation. Land acknowledgements mark a small but important part of the process of reconciliation and building a positive relationship between the settler community and Indigenous peoples. So the County of Essex and some of the area municipalities and organizations in the county have adopted land acknowledgement statements based on various research on the Indigenous history of the region. These statements are similar, and some municipalities have said their statements may be changed based on their further input. The history of these territories is not always agreed upon, so the statements are often general and strive to be respectful of all views. So in preparing this report, we did look at the area municipalities' land acknowledgement statements, as well as those that have been adopted by IRCA, the local universities, and some of the area school boards. The statements that were reviewed all acknowledge the three Fires Confederacies of First Nations. In researching and preparing this draft land acknowledgement statement for the town, the Can-Am Indian Friendship Center was consulted and recommended that the town adopt the land acknowledgement statement approved by the Greater Essex County District School Board. And that statement is as follows, if I may. We acknowledge that we are on land and surrounded by water, originally inhabited by Indigenous people who have traveled this area since time immemorial. This territory is within the lands honored by the Wampum Treaties, agreements between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenni, Lenape, and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Specifically, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the three Fires Confederacy, Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Huron-Wendat peoples. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture while remaining committed to moving forward respectfully with all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. So even though this land acknowledgement statement is well-researched, it is recommended that it be a living document and that it would allow feedback from Indigenous communities, committees, and organizations. The land acknowledgement of traditional territory demonstrates recognition and respect for Indigenous peoples and supports education on the history of the lands on which we live and work. Subject to Council's adoption of the land acknowledgement statement, it would be appropriate for the acknowledgement to be placed on the town's website and be read at the beginning of council meetings, standing committee meetings, advisory committee meetings, and other special events as determined by the mayor and council. And with that, in so doing, would also require an amendment to the procedural bylaw. So as a key part of stating a land acknowledgement at the beginning of a meeting for participants to reflect on its meaning, what happened in the past, and what changes can be made going forward in order to further the reconciliation process. That is our report and recommendation to you on the land acknowledgement statement. Be happy to answer any questions from the members of council.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Altenhoff?
Thank you, Worship, and through you to Ms. Moy. I appreciate the research and the efforts that have gone into developing this statement. Thank you, as well as all those parties involved to kind of bring it to this state. I know there's indication that it'll be a living document or a living statement that's going to adjust as necessary as we move forward. Is there any idea, or maybe potentially not at all, on a date to permit those amendments or revisions, or you just want to keep this, like you indicated, a living document without any end date, if you will?
Most of the municipalities we consult and other organizations have left theirs open for a 1-year period for that review.
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Moy, if we could maybe just articulate that in the report. I'm sorry if I missed it. I didn't see it in the report, just so that people, organizations, any parties that wish to kind of look at this and potentially add some input, have an idea of our expected timing for any amendments or revisions. Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship. The recommendation in the report is that the land acknowledgement statement be approved and kept as a living document open for revisions for 1 year to allow feedback on the statement and related advice.
Okay, I'm sorry if I, oh, I see the 1 year there. Sorry, I was looking at the paragraph on page 228. Excuse me. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Councillor Dowie?
Thank you, Worship. I'll be pretty brief. I certainly want to thank the administration for bringing forward a very appropriate beginning in our efforts at reconciliation. I think just this past summer and spring, many Canadians reacted in horror to the revelations of how our Indigenous communities were treated. And I certainly want to add my voice to those that say we want to do more and not forget what happened, and make sure that we treat each other with dignity and respect, and on a go-forward basis. And so I'm delighted to see this come to us tonight.
Any further questions or comments? The only one I would add is very simple. I think our namesake would be very pleased with this. So with that, a motion to move, Councillor Altenhoff, Deputy Mayor Bichetti. No further questions or comments? All in favor? Oppose if any? That is carried unanimous. We'll move on to financial services, administrative fees and charges. Call upon our director and treasurer to summarize the report and bring forward recommendation. Mr. Kitzels.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. So this report summarizes the administration's annual exercise to update our fees and charges schedules. So user fees and charges are an important source of revenue for the town. So we'd just like to remind all those out there that they're important because they recover fees and charges directly from those who benefit. So it helps reduce the burden to the general tax levy. So typically we increase rates by the September CPI year over year increase. So at September 2021, that prevailing rate was 4%. So we are recommending an increase generally at 4%. However, with the exception for 2022, where fees and charges relate to recreation activities. So we're recommending those rates be held at the 2021 rates. So also detailed within this annual report, there are those fees and charges where administration has recommended an increase that differs from the CPI rate outside of the recreation items in that particular schedule. And those items are identified in the highlighted changes section. Deviations from CPI change are most commonly due to factors such as actual price, product costs, or competitor rates, or addressing rates that have not changed for several years. Financial implications. So generally the rate increases were considered during the budget preparation. They're expected to generate a modest increase in user fees and charges of less than $10,000. So administration recommends that council adopt the bylaw and accompanying schedules A to H to set the rates effective for January 1st, 2022.
Okay, any questions or comments? No question or comments, and a motion to recommend or adopt the report. Councilor Houston, Councilor Tonio. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Okay, sorry about that. All right, we still have a few more reports from our director of and treasurer. The 2021-16 Windsor Essex Intermunicipal Court Service Agreement. Mr. Kitsos.
Thank you. So this report is with respect to our service agreement pertaining to the town's participation in the Windsor Essex Provincial Offenses Program. So this program was created in the year 2000 and provided for the transfer of Provincial Offenses Act responsibilities from the province to municipalities. The original agreement was adopted in 2000 and includes municipalities in Essex County and provides for the delivery of the program by the City of Windsor and the sharing of net revenues, if any, with participating municipalities on a proportionate weighted assessment basis. The original agreement has been renewed on 2 previous occasions, with the latest renewal expiring this December. So all members of the liaison committee have indicated their support for a 3rd renewal of the agreement. The report details some changes recommended with this renewal. One is for the ability for the city to conduct Part 3 prosecutions, which previously it could not do. The other 2 changes are really just to modernize the agreement to allow for remote hearings. And one is with respect to the relocation of the POA courts. And that was due to the fire at the West Court buildings. With financial implications, the town has shared in net revenue distributions since the inception of the program. However, we do note that we have experienced declines in that distribution at an accelerating rate as of late. Administration is recommending that the town enter into a 3rd renewal that would extend the agreement to December 2026.
Okay, council's pleasure. Questions or comments? Councilor Dowie.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Mr. Kitsos, thank you for the report. And I think the key paragraph is really that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected how much processing of the provincial offenses has gone forward. But I think, just absent that, looking at it, I guess I'd wonder, are we even going to, is there a day and time when we're not even going to recover our costs for the court? And so I'm wondering whether at this point in time, we have any sense of what revenues are for the 2021 calendar year, or if they're not destined to be available till next year.
Mr. Kitsos.
To council, yeah, so for 2021, we're expecting our share to be less than $20,000. So it'll be very similar to 2020. And that is directly impacted because of COVID. So that has had an impact on the number of fines assessed as well as to collections.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All right, move to approve the report as presented. Councillor Houston and support Councillor Tonio. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. All right, purchasing bylaw amendment, still call upon the Director of Finance and our Treasurer to summarize the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the purpose of this report and accompanying bylaw is to amend the town's purchasing bylaw and specifically Schedule B, Item 7X. So council may recall that administration recently updated our purchasing bylaw and policy in July of this year, where there were some changes included. One of those changes was to Schedule B and the removal of consultant services. So the removal of consultant services from Schedule B was to conform to applicable trade agreements that the town is subject to. However, this recommended amendment will allow the addition of consultant services back to Schedule B, where the cost is less than $100,000, which is still in compliance with applicable trade agreements. So there are some advantages to doing this that are represented in the report, and they provide operational efficiencies and cost savings. Consulting services where the cost is greater than $100,000 will remain subject to the bylaw and will be retained through a formal request for proposal. So administration recommends the amendment of Schedule B, goods and services not subject to this bylaw by adding item 7X consultant services under $100,000.
Okay, questions or comments on the report? All right, hearing none, move the report. Councillor Houston, supported by Councillor Ottenhoff. On the report, all in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Move on to item D, financial services, again, 21-14 budget variance report. It's up to including August of 2021. So I'll call upon our director to summarize the report and recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the 2021 budget was developed under the premise that operations would be impacted by COVID-19 and that any budgetary impact directly resulting from COVID-19 would be funded from the tax rate stabilization reserve and one-time expenditure cuts. The total operating impact of COVID-19 pressures was budgeted at just under $500,000 and to be offset by funding from the tax rate stabilization reserve of $397,000 and one-time expenditure cuts of $92,000. So subsequent to the development of our budget, grant funding announcements were made providing for an additional $684,000 in relief funding to be used towards COVID-19 operating financial pressures in 2021. So for the August variance, as was the case with our Q2 variance, we have not allocated the relief funding to specific departments at this time. So this exercise will be performed at year end when final results are known. So for our variance report, we've broken it down into two sections. The first one pertains to the impact of COVID-19. And the second is towards focuses on normal operations. So the COVID-19 impacts identified on pages 3 and 4 list financial impacts beyond that what was contemplated during the budget. So this translates into a budgeted year-end COVID financial impact of an additional $286,000 over what was budgeted, with significantly larger revenue losses than anticipated, however, partly offset by expenditure savings greater than anticipated. So most notable with revenue losses are the arena rentals at $297,000, collections of POA fines, $110,000, and lottery licensing fees of $82,000. These losses were partly offset by significant reductions to wages and benefits of approximately $260,000 combined. That's in the expenditure impacts section. And as well as to reductions in utility costs. Also noteworthy in the expenditure section is the addition of an unbudgeted expense of an estimated $85,000 towards support of the regional vaccination stations in Amherstburg and Leamington. With respect to our normal operations, so the variance projected at year end is a surplus of $449,000. So major factors there are wages and benefits in parks and recreation and grant revenues for student laborers. Variance from regular rate supported operations, so that's water and wastewater, is projected a year-end surplus of $423,000. So that's primarily due to water purchase cost and sanitary treatment costs. So both resulting primarily from the variance between actual costs coming in lower than what we had budgeted. Their attachment 2 to this report provides a full detailed listing of variances by department for anything that's 5,000 or greater. With respect to capital budget, so the variance is presented in attachments 3 and 4, where approved budget and incurred costs to date are presented by project. Projects reported include those approved for 2021 through departmental capital reports and projects that were approved in prior year capital budgets that have incurred costs during 2021. So overall, a total year-end surplus of $586,000 is projected. We do anticipate recognizing all of the COVID-19 financial relief available to the town for 2021, being approximately $684,000. So that would increase our projected year-end surplus to $1.27 million and preserve $397,000 of our town reserves. A portion of this surplus would go to reserves in support of future COVID-19 financial impacts, which we can anticipate for 2022, as there has been no announced additional financial relief measures available to municipalities at this time. So administration recommends council accept this report.
All right. So any questions or comments? Always good to be on the positive side of the ledger. Councilor Houston?
Through you, I will move the report.
Thank you. And supported by Councilor Tonio. No further questions or comments. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Community and Recreation Services Report 2021-18. The Alternative Sportsplex Strategy. Call upon our director to summarize the report and recommendation. Mr. Anthony.
Good evening, Mayor McNamara, members of council. So this report tonight is as is highlighted, provides some alternate strategies for the Sportsplex in lieu of our unsuccessful ICIP application. So the majority of the background section is really self-explanatory, and I will move really to the last 2 paragraphs, which summarizes where we are and what we are proposing tonight. And at the December 8th, 2020 regular meeting of council, the members considered the Tecumseh multi-use Sportsplex updated costing report, which identified external funding sources for, without identified external funding sources for this project, council direction was deferred to the 2021 when capital projects would be reviewed and prioritized by council. The report seeks to summarize the new strategy for delivering on elements of the multi-use Sportsplex arising from these discussions and secure council's commitment to move forward with the strategy. During 2021, we had the opportunity in some small focus groups to meet and to review capital priorities for not only the Parks and Recreation Department, but also Public Works. So council would get a real idea of the projects 5 to 10 years out, what we're looking at. And included in the community and recreation capital projects for discussion during those focus groups were the amendments of the Sportsplex that could be undertaken at multiple facilities in the community, distributing elements of the multi-sportsplex by combining them into other projects and by seeking partnerships which will reduce the impact to the capital budget, spread the benefit over more facilities, and result in more modest and manageable projects compared to the one large complex. This strategy also makes room for other capital priorities that are immediate horizon, and such as the Lakewood Park splash pad, washroom, Maidstone Recreation Complex, and there were some other projects that were discussed. The revised strategy for delivering on elements of the multi-use sportsplex includes the following proposed projects and partnerships which would need to be confirmed. Sportsplex component number one, that would be the Lacoste ball diamonds. As we all know, the Lacoste ball diamond plays a very historic part of our future, of our past in Tecumseh, and certainly we want to move forward with that in the future. This proposal would upgrade the grandstands, the backstop, the LED lighting, artificial turf playing field, and existing building upgrades in partnership with the Tecumseh Thunder and St. Clair College. Sportsplex component number two, which was part of the original complex, was a gymnasium. However, we're looking at a triple gym with indoor walking track. As council will recall, the indoor walking track was one of the main components that the public really wanted to see in any part of the Sportsplex project. Programming space and parking lot expansion at the Tecumseh Arena in partnership with local sport organization. We've had a community sport organization step forward and want to partner with us in that project. Sportsplex component number three, artificial turf sports fields in partnership with school boards, soccer associations, and the private sector. We have a number of sports fields within our school board boundaries, and we'd like to explore those partnerships and turn some of those fields into artificial turf playing fields with those partnerships of those school boards. This strategy set out above captures several elements of the original Sportsplex concept while also progressing other needed projects. The artificial turf playing fields for baseball and soccer, and the new triple gym and indoor walking track and expanded parking at the arena. While there's no indoor soccer component, the new strategy would capitalize on the region's mild climate and with new outdoor artificial turf facilities that would expand the shoulder seasons and allow for more play. The strategy would also see another major initiative move forward with the improvements to the baseball facility at Lacoste Park. Ever important, the new cardio rehab facility at the arena continues to be anticipated in partnership with the Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare, and that still is very much in the forefront. With the proposed triple gymnasium facility, that mirrors in nicely with them and provides them with some of the amenities they needed in the original Sportsplex project to make their facility a success. With council support and principle for the strategy in place of one large Sportsplex, administration will prepare these projects for consideration along and post financing options and timeframes in the 5-year 2022 Parks and Arena Life Cycle Capital Reports to be presented at a regular council meeting in early Q1 2022. I'll move to the recommendations at this time. Recommendation one, that report CRS 2021-18 Community and Recreation Services Alternate Sportsplex Strategy be received, and that council support in principle the alternative strategy for the town's multi-use sportsplex, consisting of 3 alternate projects in place of one large sportsplex facility, as set out in report CRS 2021-18, and further that the strategy and projects highlighted in this report be provided for council's consideration in the 2022 5-year life cycle capital reports for Parks and Arena.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Anthony. Any questions or comments to Director Anthony? Councillor Altenhoff, Houston, and Dowie.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. First, a comment. I really do, appreciate all the components that have kind of been brought forth, but I really do want to articulate the, point or component number 2, that indoor walking track, really augmented with the efforts of the Hotel Dieu Grace Hospital on, I think, the cardio rehab facility. The one thing I've discovered in some of my research on, deaths, fatalities, injuries that really all Canadians experience is that cardiovascular disease is a significant impact to our society, and it burdens all taxpayers and the healthcare system significantly. So I'm really glad to see that it's fully anticipated that we will continue that connection, that partnership that we've established, and that Hotel Dieu Grace Hospital is certainly interested in getting involved or continuing this relationship. I see it as really kind of a unique kind of state of the art where we can use that cardio rehab facility augmented again with that walking track as, you know, diagnosis and you know, a means to help people return to good cardio health. So I'm really excited to see that. Thank you.
Councillor Houston.
Thank you, Worship. And to Mr. Anthony, you know, thank you for all the work that you've put into, you know, this entire project. And it's been quite a ride and a journey for us to get here. I think the three pillars of this alternative to the Sportsplex kind of encompass some of the you know, the original design features or the components, right, for the community. No doubt, you know, I think the Sportsplex would have been an awesome addition to the community, but it would have come with an awesome price tag, right? And likely even more than what the numbers we were presented at the time, given the timing and the pandemic and where we are today. And you know, I think this here will provide a lot of those amenities to the community without the enormous price tag that the Sportsplex would have had. But you know, would have loved to see it, you know, in the community. But I think this here kind of gives and delivers the essence of what we were looking to deliver. So, you know, looking forward to the, you know, the 5-year plan and what it looks like, and you know, over the years, you know, the build out of these assets within the community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Houston. Councillor Dowie.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and through to Mr. Anthony, thank you very much for your hard work, you know, going through the focus groups and reassessing the project and coming forward with these recommendations. I think I'll echo the comments of Councillors Althoff and Houston. I think what's most exciting is that this is a realistic path forward for getting that year-round use. So even though it may not be a turf floor in the gym, it still is available for a variety of uses in the wintertime and provide space that just doesn't exist in our community today. I have no doubt that it'll be well used. I can think of countless organizations that would, I mean, just on a single night, I think every one of those gymnasiums would be used thoroughly. And that kind of space too is just promising to augment our local educational facilities. So overall, I think the recommendation captures the spirit of offering something new, something that isn't readily available in our community that there's demand for, and helps us to stay active even when it's not nice outside. With the enhancements to the outdoor fields that you've established. So I mean, overall, I think that we're partnering with existing facilities to augment a community use is certainly a worthwhile reuse or additional use of existing facilities. So overall, I want to give my thanks for all the thoughtful work here, and certainly happy to support going down this road.
Councillor Tonio.
Thank you. Again, yeah, Paul, awesome, great job as usual on the roller coaster. I guess that's what we should be pricing out, I guess, is a roller coaster. That's what it feels like we've been over the last few years. But the AstroTurf, what's the lifespan on those? Do we know 20 years, 25? Like how long are they going to be good for before we have to replace them?
Through the mayor to Councillor Tonio, it depends on the quality of turf that you put in. There's obviously different styles of turf, and there's different quality, and we would certainly look at a quality that would stand up to the play. We do know that our sports organizations have a strong backing for these projects, and they'll be well used. So it's the investment that you put into them originally that makes the lasting use of the fields.
And I'm sure we'll get more rental from it, because I mean, from March to December, really, we golf in this area, so we can certainly be playing sports or practicing, getting some revenue to further enhance the use of that AstroTurf area. So I really like the idea of starting to convert some of our lands to that kind of property. So we have, more use during the fall. What you call it, shoulder months, I guess you called it. So I like that. So thanks. Good job.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Bichetti.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to commend administration and council for not giving up the vision and the faith. We've been looking at this multi-use sportsplex for many years, and through the roundtable discussion that our CEO was able to convene with all of us, we were able to come up and put our heads together to say, look, these are the basic ingredients that we can afford, and these are the things that the community has been asking for. So I think it's a win-win. It's moving, in terms of doing our due diligence financially, being the stewards of the community. We're going to be able to make this happen in an overall plan. So I'm glad to see that we're able to control our own destiny and not worry about, we getting grant money, because it's been, like a cloud over us. If we don't get a grant money, it doesn't happen. And so now, you know what? We're going to make it happen on our own terms, and we're going to budget it, in terms of a financial prudent way. So thank you again to all for keeping I believe it was the #1 strategic priority from our last meeting, that it's still there and it's going to happen. So thank you.
Yeah, and then I'll just, I certainly want to echo, I know, Paul, you've been a champion, for this, and sometimes when situation hands you a bag of lemons, well, you make lemonade with it. And when you look at, spreading it out over a period of time, so be it, but I really want to thank you and administration, but also my colleagues on council for your resolve and the reality that, where there's a way, where there's a will, there's a way, and we'll get, we'll get it done. It's going to take a little longer. And to your point, Deputy Mayor, we'll do it on our merits and so forth. So again, I'm looking forward to see the evolution of this, this plan, and there's I think a tremendous opportunity. So to our residents, I'd say a little bit more patience, but we'll get it done, and one step at a time. So we're looking for a motion to receive the report support. Madam CAO.
Yes, please, and support in principle this change in concept. We'll ask for the final support through the capital plan that Mr. Anthony will bring in Q1 of 2020.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, move support in principle. Move Deputy Mayor Bichetti, Councilor Tonio. All in favor? Oppose if any? That's carried unanimous. All right, Public Works Engineering Services. We'll move on to 5A. Public Works Engineering Services. That's item 2021-46, the Source Protection Plan, Part 4, Enforcement Transfer Agreement Amendment number 2. So I'll call on our Director, Mr. Bartnick, to summarize the report and recommendations.
Thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me. So the town originally entered into an agreement with IRCA in 2015 And that was to develop and implement a joint program for the enforcement and jurisdictional rights under Part 4 of the Clean Water Act. The Clean Water Act enables communities to protect their drinking water sources through source protection plans, which includes a variety of approaches to manage and prevent risks to municipal drinking water. IRCA has been providing risk management services to all of the municipalities within its jurisdiction since 2015. That agreement from 2015 was amended in 2018. And this amendment number 2 before you today would extend those services from January 1st of 2022 through to December 31st of 2024. And the amendment number 2 has a total cost estimate of $94,500, with Tecumseh's portion being $4,000. And the recommendations before you today, the first one being that the report be received. The second recommendation that bylaw 2021-97 be approved, which will authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement or the amendment number 2 to the agreement. And that and the third recommendation is that the town's estimated cost share of $4,000 be funded from the water operational budget. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bartnick. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, then a motion to support the recommendation and approve it. Councillor Houston, move, and supported by Councillor Tonio. No further questions or comments. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Public Works again, we'll call upon our director to summarize a report and recommendation on 2021-47, the water and wastewater rates for 2022.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to hit some of the highlights. So contained within the report for the rate structure for 2022, we are looking at an increase of 1% on the water rates. And that essentially works out to, for those users that are using less than 10,200 cubic meters a year, which is a majority of our town, that would be a change of 1.2 cents per cubic meter. When it comes to wastewater rates, there is an increase of 2%. And again, generally that relates to 2.5 cents per cubic meter. The fixed charge rates were increased by 6% over the 2021 levels, and the Oasis water filling station was increased by CPI rate of about 4%. So the impact of the rate increases, these would increase the cost to a homeowner using 240 cubic meters annually by about $33.38 for the year, or by about $2.78 per month. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Oh, and sorry, one last thing. So the recommendations on the report itself is that bylaw 2021-105, being a bylaw to adopt the water and wastewater rates for 2022, based on the recommendations of the 2015 Town of Tecumseh Water and Wastewater Rate Study and the mediation agreement and discussions with the Windsor Utilities Commissions be adopted.
All right, questions or comments? Just one question for me, Phil. On the fixed rate on wastewater, 6%, is that trying to make up the shortfall in the reserve?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, no further questions or comments. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. All right. I'd like to also call upon our director, Mr. Bartnick, on the 2021-48 NDMP extension of intakes 3, 4, 5, 6, A19 transfer payment agreement amendment.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in March of 2019, the town received confirmation that our funding application to the NDMP, which is the National Disaster Mitigation Program, Intake 5, was approved, and that was approved for our Old Castle Storm Drainage Master Plan study. In March of 2021, earlier this year, we did receive further confirmation that an extension to our completion date was approved, primarily related to COVID-19 delays. And that completion date was pushed out to March of 2022. And also with that came some additional federal funding that was available for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. So looking at the financial implications of the project and the grant opportunity, so the total project costs are about $535,000 for the study. The eligible cost for the grant program was about $400,000. And so the NDMP Intake 5 was going to cover $200,000 worth, which leaves the amount to be funded by the town at $335,000. The recommendation before you tonight is that bylaw 2021-101, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and the Right on Ontario, as represented by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, for the amendment to the Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement for the extension of the National Disaster Mitigation Program be adopted. Thank you. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions or comments? Okay, move to adopt the report. Deputy Member Keddy, Councillor Altenhoff. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. All right, bylaws, Madam Clerk. You got a few.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we do have a few on the agenda this evening. So the first bylaw we have is bylaw 2021-93, which is the adoption of the 2022 budget. Bylaw 2021-94, being a bylaw to provide for late payment charges. Bylaw 2021-95 is the interim tax rate bylaw. Bylaw number 2021-96 is the administrative fees and charges bylaw, as reported on earlier this evening. Bylaw number 2021-97 is the source protection transfer agreement, which was also reported on earlier this evening. Bylaw 2021-98 is the amending bylaw for the BIA board appointments, as decided upon by council at their last special meeting. Bylaw number 2021-99 is again amendments to the Heritage Committee, as previously decided upon by council at their special meeting. And bylaw 2021-100 amends the appointments to the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Bylaw number 2021-101 is the authorization, as reported on earlier, for the National Disaster Mitigation Program Intake Transfer Payment Agreement. Bylaw 2021-102 is the updated agreement for the intermunicipal court services, as reported on by finance earlier this evening. Bylaw 2021-103 is the procurement bylaw amendment that was also reported on earlier this evening. Bylaw 2021-04 is the bylaw to renew the Community Support Center agreement for a further 2-year term, as reported on earlier this evening, as well as bylaw 2021-105 water and wastewater rates for 2022. Bylaw 2021-41 being the Sierra Drain, and bylaw 2021-77, those we are looking for third and final readings. Bylaw numbers 2021-93 through to 2001-5, we're respectfully asking for first and second readings, and if appropriate, third and final.
All right, two readings on the bylaws. Councillor Houston, Councillor Antonio, 2 readings. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. 3 readings is now in order. Deputy Mayor Bichetti, Councillor Dowie, all in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. I see none. Any new business? Councillor Altenhoff?
Thank you, Worship. And through you, just a couple items to note. For Public Works, I received a phone call yesterday from Mr. Ribberty, who, as I'm sure everyone is aware, is the owner and operator of Ribberty Farms on Riverside Drive, inquiring about some aspects of the proposed yet approved pathway that's going to be going on the south side. Mr. Ribberty has had some communications with, I think, some members. I think it was Mr. Hedges of the of Public Works, but I think he was a bit unsure and unclear as to next steps. And I know I've written an email to Mr. Hedges. I believe CC'd some of our administration. I just want to make sure that communication occurs, because Mr. Ribberty was, I think, a bit nervous and unsure as to what's going on. So if we could just please reach out to Mr. Ribberty as we've done in the past, I think that would be appreciated. I know that facility is, I think, used quite well. So hopefully we can incorporate appropriate designs to make sure that parking is not impacted too much. The other point I wanted to note, just driving around our area, mostly within Ward 2, with the windstorm we had over the weekend, there's a number of, I don't want to call them very large branches, but certainly branches and twigs that are a bit beyond just snipping up and perhaps throwing out into the garbage. I know historically in the past, when we've experienced some windstorms of this nature, we've had kind of our staff go by and try to do a little bit of cleanup. We obviously no longer have the yard waste going on for the end of the year. So I'm just wondering if we could maybe direct our staff to perhaps do just a quick drive-by within the areas, just to try to pick up any significant twigs that have been brought, or branches that have been brought to the road front, because I've seen a number of them to the point where they're almost intruding onto the roadway. So if that could be looked at, it would be appreciated.
I would add to that as well, is that maybe our arborist can have a look at some of the trees to see if there's anything hung up on limbs, on especially a lot of those trees are silver maples, and maybe have just a general drive through in those heavy treed areas.
Thank you. Thank you for all the safety of the community. Thank you.
Any further new business? I've got one item that I want to share with members of council, and particularly those who have been around for since our twinning days. It was with great sadness that I learned this week that one of the authors of our twinning with Oldcastle County Meath in Ireland, Mr. Finbar O'Connor, passed away. And for many of us that have been here over the years, have had the opportunity to meet Finbar. He was here when we had the formal exchange. So in 1998, this group reached out to residents of Oldcastle, Ontario, to explore the possibility of twinning our two communities. And it has now been over 23 years since the first exchange, with dozens of visits between Ireland and Canada over this time. Finbar and his wife Frida were here in 2011 and met with council, toured town hall, our schools, and made a presentation to our Heritage Committee. Finbar was a retired high school principal in Oldcastle, and certainly will be sadly missed by his family and friends, both in Ireland and also in Canada. So may he rest in peace, and God bless the O'Connor family, and we wish them our deepest sympathy. And I was very fortunate when I did go in 2012, actually, to Ireland on a personal trip. I had the opportunity to meet the Finbar family and a lot of our friends from Ireland, from County Meath, and we were so well received, Heather and I, and actually my sister and brother-in-law. And we certainly had a wonderful time. So anyway, keep them in sort of your thoughts and sort of your prayers to the O'Connor family. I don't think there's any further new business. Then we'll go to, go ahead, Madam CEO.
Just a reminder, Mayor McNamara, I thought perhaps under new business, the LaSalle item that you'd mentioned.
Yes, thank you. And for members of council, if you remember last year at one, we had a report that came before council. It was on the Turkey Creek watershed that we share between Tecumseh, Windsor and LaSalle. I was contacted today by Mayor Bondi in regards to where it stands, for our municipality in that. And I said that I'd bring it up tonight, and I did have an opportunity to speak with our director, Mr. Bartnick, and our CAO this evening. So I'll let Mr. Bartnick explain where we're at, and be looking to get a resolution from council tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. So last year, as part of the Capital Works Plan for 2021, we did have the Turkey Creek Watershed Phase 1 approved. And we did have funding in the amount of $60,000 that was allocated to that study. Since that time, Phase 1 has concluded, and a proposal to move on to the next step, which would be Phase 2, has come forward about, I would say about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I believe the City of Windsor, as well as LaSalle, has kind of approved the proposal and are patiently waiting for the town of Tecumseh. So the financial implications, when we're looking at the study, so the cost sharing arrangements for the initial study is made up of the varying watersheds. So the town of Tecumseh is paying 4% of the study. In addition to that, IRCA was successful in receiving grant funding for the program as well. So with Phase 1 and Phase 2 and kind of an administration fee from IRCA, the town's cost is looking to be around $7,700. So although we do have the funding allocated, we did not have the scope 2 or I guess Phase 2 of the project clearly identified in the previous approval. So this evening, we would be happy to proceed with Phase 2 of the Turkey Creek watershed with our municipal partners, given council direction this evening. And then this will be followed up with our annual capital works reports to be brought forward to council in January of next year.
Okay, any questions or comments, members of council? Councillor Altenhoff.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to Mr. Bartnick. Sorry, maybe just refresh my memory. What kind is involved within Phase 2? Kind of the critical details that are associated with it, just so that we have kind of an understanding of how we're using our dollars accordingly. Thank you.
Yep, through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Altenhoff. So I believe the initial phase was kind of a desktop exercise, data collection of the various studies within all the different watersheds that have taken place over the last number of years. And with that completed, they're moving into Phase 2, which is more of a detailed analysis and model creation of the Turkey Creek watershed itself.
Okay, so we still have was quite a reduction in terms of the dollars. So it's budgeted the 60,000, but it's down to 77. And so It's basically helping, in particular LaSalle right now, in terms of a lot of their projects are in abeyance until we get the Tecumseh's phase 2 part of it moving forward. Councilor Houston?
Through you, I am fine to make the motion then to add this second phase and whatever the appropriate wording may be from the clerk.
Madam Clerk? Or maybe Phil, I don't know if Phil could maybe put a little bit of verbiage in there, but it's basically the continuation of phase 2.
Through your worship, I would perhaps recommend that council approve the Turkey Creek Watershed Phase 2 project, and that funding come out of the previously allocated funds set aside for Phase 1.
Move that.
Moved by Councilor Houston, supported by Deputy Mayor Bichetti. Any further questions or comments? Councilor Altenhoff.
Excuse me, Your Worship, just to clarify, I know you made a statement of the 60,000 and then you said brought down to 77, but I think you mean 7.7. Just to clarify from Mr. Bartnick, it was only what, 7,000?
Yeah, 7,700.
7,700. So yeah, a very small amount compared to what was originally proposed. I just wanted to bring that point forward because I heard 77, but it's really 7.7.
Yeah, 7,700.
7,700, just a small amount. Thank you.
Okay, on the motion, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to any further business as well. Motions. We've got a high-speed internet procurement process changes. This motion was going to be brought forward by Councilor Brian Houston, who is the chair of our broadband committee. And this was discussed at our meeting Monday.
Through you, Your Worship, last
week.
Yeah. So, Council, as the mayor has mentioned, this was discussed at our last Rural Broadband Advisory Committee, and they wanted to recommend that we bring this forward to Council. So it was discussed and moved in second at our meeting, and this is essentially the resolution which we bring forward for Council's consideration this evening. It is quite extensive, and Mayor, I would certainly consider you much more of an expert in this than I. I know we've all read this. I'm happy to kind of go through the entire whereas, and clerk, I don't know if you'd like me to read the motion that is in front of us, or at least the therefore it be resolved portion. But Mayor, maybe you have any specific comments on this?
Yes. What's this is kind of a the culmination of the new ANSIP program that RFQs have been sent out. A request for proposals from the Infrastructure Ontario on the new broadband announcement, the $4 billion that's being allocated in the province of Ontario. When I guess the advantage that I have as a chair of SWIFT, Southwestern Ontario Integrated Fiber Technology, and being part of the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, the the process of delivering these dollars is so broadly wide open that it basically leaves a lot of the small and medium ISPs that SWIFT has been very successful in their program in delivering. The tranches of monies are very high, and it's basically a reverse bid, and they vary from 30 million up to almost $90 million tranches in 15 counties across southwestern Ontario. And the smaller ISPs in that really don't have an opportunity. And it's also left in question fiber versus wireless. And we all know that SWIFT has been very adamant, unless it's impossible, that fiber is the go-to broadband installation. And so in the resolution, in the letter that we did send to the minister through the Western Wardens Caucus, through our chair, George Cornell, the county of Essex has also sent theirs, to give the opportunity to reduce the size of the lots. So it gives more opportunities for the smaller players to certainly get involved. You know, the Goshfields of the world, and the 11 Wave, and the Tech Savvies, and I can go on, you know, I can go on and on, or basically wouldn't be able to bid on these projects. So it's pretty much wide open to the big players in the field. And so, you know, we're asking them to, we're very pleased. We're very pleased that they're going to spend this amount of money, because we all know the pandemic has created an angst, obviously, for small town and rural areas to have good, solid access to broadband, and to make those investments, the $4 billion, very welcome. But it's how it's going to be delivered. I think our experts are telling us is that the lots are too big. They need to be reduced. And then the reserve prices to be recalculated for all the lots are based on really hybrid solutions rather than wired or wireless. So it's kind of wide open. So you can imagine is that we're going to give you X to do this county. Now you guys figure it out. Well, so they bid, obviously. And so there are key components of it that I think are going to be I think overlooked. And so it's, as you know, competition is good for the soul. And the more ISPs that you've got across the board, the better it is for the consumer at the end of the day. If only the big players are going to bid on these, then where's the competition? So I don't want to. I hope you had the time to read this. This has been supported by the county. It's been supported by the 15 counties across southwestern Ontario. It's been sent on. One letter has been sent by as I said, George Cornell, the warden of Simcoe County, in supporting this. And then what the Western Warden are asking in particular is support from the local municipalities as well.
So through you, I'm happy to move. And
it was also actually Councillor Jobin's not here, but Councillor Jobin also supports this motion as well. She also sits on the committee. So moved by Councillor Houston on the procurement process changes on the motion. Do I support? Deputy Mayor Becchetti? Questions or comments? Councillor Altenhoff?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to acknowledge, your time on kind of explaining the rationale and reasoning behind this. When I first look at the bullet points under the resolution, I had some reservations, eliminating bid bond requirements and kind of payments and so forth. But I understand now really what's trying to be achieved with this. So I'm fine with supporting it, and I appreciate your time and kind of explaining why and allowing these smaller ISPs to get involved. And I agree with you 100% that competition, can certainly help. Again, that focus on the fiber wired solution is, I think, preferred. But I do appreciate your time in detailing it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to make it very clear. We're extremely pleased that the provincial government has initiated this program. The monies, I think, is important, and realistically, we want to get the biggest bang for the dollar. And we believe in terms of the amount of work that we've done is that we've been able to get the ISPs to have some pretty substantive contributions towards expanding, broadband in the SWIFT program, and I think that's important. It's extremely important. It's not just about them laying the fiber and saying thank you very much, X number. So we want to make sure that they get, not only for us municipalities broadband, but for the province to get the biggest bang for their taxpayers' money. So on the motion, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Any further new business at this stage? If not, then a confirmatory bylaw is in order to confirm the proceedings of our meeting this evening, and to give it first, second, and third reading. Councillor Ottenhoff move, supported by Councillor Houston. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Any notices of motion? Before adjournment is called, I want to certainly take this opportunity. I think this is our last official meeting. Wish everyone a Merry Christmas and certainly a Happy New Year. I know we have to make some pretty tough decisions in terms of gatherings, and we know that the Omicron variant now is reared its ugly head in our own municipality, meaning the region. Our numbers are very high. And again, we wish everyone, the opportunity for your immediate family, take some time, get some rest, be safe, and enjoy your time off between the holidays. Come back refreshed, and we'll continue to tackle 2022 with optimism, and hopefully we can push this pandemic behind us and get a little bit ahead of our meetings and to be able to gather again and enjoy. I certainly feel bad, in terms of certain parts of the sector of the economy is still taking a huge hit, but we have to take the precautions and really be mindful of how we deal with the pandemic moving forward. I think we all have a responsibility to ourselves, to our family, to our friends, to our neighbors, our co-workers, to take that extra step in making sure that we safeguard ourselves and certainly our loved ones. And so with that, I wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and until we meet again on Tuesday, January the 11th, at 7 p.m. regular council meeting. So with that, folks, adjournment's in order. And thank you once again to yourselves, administration, and those who are viewing from the comforts of home. We wish you all the best. Adjournment, moved by Councillor Altenhoff, Councillor Tonio. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Everyone have a good night.